honors Western Civ. I'm making this flip with a lot of spite considering the fact that the Eagles just lost and I just got done driving 8 hours back from North Carolina. I apologize that I couldn't record one for you on location in North Carolina, but we had a lot of stuff going on with my cousin's wedding, so we're going to pick up right here at the beginning of the Hellenistic period with Philip II of Macedonia, talking about like the fall of the Peloponnesian Wars and getting into all that stuff. And kind of it's going to help us flow into Rome, which is actually what we're starting next. Excuse me. Now, the Hellenistic period lasted from write this down, from 323 BC to 31 BC. Now, 31 BC, it stopped after Rome actually conquered the remaining leftovers of the Hellenistic period. But you could actually honestly say that due to the fact of the Hellenistic period's existence and Alexander the Great's reign over it, that the Romans may have never been as strong if it weren't for the Greeks. So let's go ahead and get started, though. It all starts with this little place in Greece. It's actually not very little, really, but Macedonia. Now, Macedonia is a mountainous region in northern Greece, and it's full of uncivilized people and frontier. So early on, they were more aligned with, out of the two people, Athens or Sparta, who would they be more aligned with? Come on now. I know one of y'all knows this answer. Good job, John Marino. I saw you over there. Mountainous region would be, a place like this would be more aligned with Sparta because they're more tribal, right? Well, this right here is the Republic of Macedonia. Now, down here is where Sparta is, and Athens is right up here. And after the Peloponnesian War, with both of these two sides reeling a little bit from battle and war, Macedonia was able to kind of try and start spreading out and using its reign and its power. Now, the infamous king of Macedonia was Philip II, okay? Now, this is Alexander's father, all right? Really, really cool leader, master of the phalanx. We'll talk about that in a second. Very, very powerful military ruler. Also came up with the very first duck face selfie, as you can see. And he also had 7 wives, none of them concubines. Sorry, Laura. But 7 different wives, several children, and his son is Alexander the Great. But honestly, you can say that Alexander learned everything from him. So Philip sought to change Macedonia and to become the dominant Greek power following the Peloponnesian War. So what is it like after a war? Everything's kind of in shambles, right? So this was Macedonia and Philip's chance to go forward and really, really kind of gain a major, major ground in Greece. So Philip conquered many, 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 many small city-states following the Peloponnesian War to create a huge military, because Philip actually took an idea from what empire? The idea of being tolerant, and when you bring people in, using them for your military instead of turning them into slaves like the Spartans did. Who would use that idea? Good job, Kimberly. I heard you over there. They learned this from the Persians, right? The Persians were the ones that thought, why am I going to just use them as a farmer when I can use them to make us stronger, right? Because the Spartans, they had these little special soldiers turned into slaves that did farming for them, and they were called what again? What were they called? Good job, Coffee. Helots, all right? So anyway, he was a professional at using the phalanx. And remember, the phalanx is the giant armored spiky turtle formation thing that he was really all about. So, excuse me. Philip used 3 separate things. All right, 3 separate things to take over the entirety of mainland Greece. He used diplomacy. Now, diplomacy is a fantastic tool, and a lot of modern-day governments use it today. And diplomacy is when you bargain and come into deals and terms with other city-states. So he said, if you join us, you can reap from our benefits. And he went to many small city-states like Megara and Corinth and Delphi, and he actually got them on his side with them. Now, he threatened Sparta, and they actually succumbed to it, and because they just realized that they were completely outnumbered. And following the Peloponnesian War, did the Spartans have the ability to really stand up and fight? No. They succumbed to the threat and said, well, fine, we'll be on your side if you just go and destroy who? Exactly. Athens, right? So, and also he used bribes. He would actually give money to other poorer city-states, and then they would join up with him as well. So he's a very smart man. Diplomacy, that's when you use bargaining tactics from city-state to city-state, usually government organized. Threats from Sparta, or threats against some city-states like Sparta, and then bribes as well. Now, their main target was Athens, as you can see right here, that's Athens, and then Thebes right there. Now, that's their main target because they're the last standing major powers on the coastal area of Greece. Because if you take over this area, you now control the Mediterranean Sea, and you can go after places like Ionia, and you can go after the hurting Persian Empire and all these other places like that. Okay, so now remember, what I want you to do tonight as a little extra supplementary homework to be a part of the Wusa in the morning, I want you to go home or go online and look up a time that diplomacy has been used recently within the last 10 years when it comes from one country dealing with another, okay? So don't forget to bring that in. I'm actually going to collect that, okay? All right, so let's keep going. Now, Philip, yes, sweetheart. So Philip hired Aristotle to be his son's teacher, and his son's name was Alexander III, right? Now, when Alexander was 18, he actually helped his father defeat the leftover Delian League and Thebes, and Athens is going to punk out and surrender out of fear. Anyway, now this right here is his son, Alex. Well, Alexander, anyway. Now, was he Alexander the Great yet? No, of course not. So, as you can see, though, very, very strong figure. Has very, like, white boy flowy hair. You know, he probably does that little stupid flip that some of y'all do with your hair because you think girls think it's cute, right? So, and of course, if I had to embody one little perspective of what Athens looked like during this time period, it's right there. So now, by the time his son was 18 years old, Philip II has now taken over the entirety of mainland Greece. Now, he wanted to conquer Persia with Alexander at his side, but unfortunately, he's going to be assassinated at his daughter's wedding by one of his own bodyguards. He's going to be walking his daughter down the aisle, drops her off, and then he goes to get a drink, and then literally one of his bodyguards comes up and stabs him to death. And then actually following this other thing, all of his other bodyguards ran and jumped him and then stabbed the other bodyguard to death. So, but unfortunately, Macedonia is now without a ruler, right? So who's going to be the one to step up? Now, we all know as historians that Alexander III is going to be stepping into Philip II's place and taking over control of Macedonia. And he wants to carry on his father's reign, and he wants to push into Persia and create the biggest empire that the world's ever seen. So, but here's the thing. He had how many wives again? How many wives did I say Philip had? Philip II? Anybody? Come on now. I know you know it. I heard you over there. Good job, Aaron. He had 7 wives, which means he had several kids, right? So now his one main wife, though, one of his 7 wives, Olympias, then outmaneuvered his other wives and children and put her own son, Alexander, on the throne, okay? So this is going to begin the reign of Alexander. I'm trying to keep this flip short, and we'll pick up with this stuff in class, and we're also going to talk about the city-state of Corinth and possibly one of our first myths tomorrow in class that y'all are doing in the presentations. So I will talk to y'all tomorrow. Have a fantastic evening. Regardless of the loss, go Eagles. We'll be fine. We'll get it together. Don't worry. Have a great evening.